Hey, what's going on, Stephanie, Gil, Sarah, and Alicia? Since we are going to be at our staff Christmas party this coming Wednesday, tomorrow, wanted to make sure we had a touch point and we were able to talk about some things. So we may not be able to dialogue, but I can at least share a couple things that I wanted to make sure we were on the same page with. Um, Number one, I guess, this past weekend was the Christmas production. Want to hear feedback from each one of you. If you haven't had a chance to do this yet, please go on Podio and just share some of your thoughts, share some of the positive things that went on the weekend, and then also some things that we might need to change or update. Because I know this is a big weekend for us. We put a lot of work into that. Want to hear from you on that, especially while things are fresh in your mind. Um, Also, some scheduling things that everybody needs to be aware of. The month of December is a little bit crazy. We have a lot of things going on. Want to make sure we're all on the same page. So some things to be aware of is the Wednesday night schedule. um, Gil and Alicia, you want to make some decisions about what are you planning to do on December 21st and 28th. We've chosen to cancel all children's ministry and programming on those days because there was not a lot of other small group activity. I don't know what's going on at your campus, but you want to make some decisions based on that, so that you just can communicate far in advance with anybody that may be expecting childcare or things like that. Make sure you're doing that and doing it in advance. For the weekends coming up, this coming weekend will be a normal weekend. The following 2 weekends will be a little bit different, so you want to be aware of that. So Christmas Eve, um, each of you have Christmas Eve services, so you want to make sure that you're staffing those appropriately and you've communicated well with everybody. Typically, we've offered childcare for 0 to 5 years old for Christmas Eve services, so you want to make arrangements and plans to do that and work with your campus pastor, campus director to make sure you're on the same page with that. I'm not saying that you definitely have to do that. Just kind of mentioning that's what we've historically done on Christmas Eve. Um, Christmas Eve, whatever services that you have, they're going to take the place of the weekend service. We don't have any services on Christmas Day, so make arrangements for that. I know it can be challenging to get volunteers and staffing on Christmas Eve, so you want to be working far in advance on that. Hopefully, you've already begun to do that. The following weekend is New Year's Eve weekend. You should have services scheduled for New Year's Eve. I don't know exactly what your service schedule is at your campus, but again, those services on New Year's Eve, that Saturday, will take the place of all of your weekend services. We won't have any services on New Year's Day. What I would like to see and what we're doing here at Hampton, what I think the goal should be, is those New Year's Eve services should really replicate our weekend service experiences. So whatever you have going on December 31st, that Saturday, you should create a full crosstown children's ministry experience that is going to be fun and engaging. That should take the place of your Sunday experience or your weekend experiences. It'll be hard to get workers. It'll be hard to get volunteers. It'll be hard to get staff. So work far in advance on that. Work with your supervisor to make sure that all of that's happening and that you guys are on the same page. Those are just some scheduling things that are coming up that you want to be aware of. Other scheduling things that you want to be aware of. On January 29th, this is our annual vision meeting. This is going to take place immediately after the 11:15 service at Hampton. And this is designed to, I believe we'll have like a live streaming for part of it from the Hampton campus. Then each individual campus will have their own parts of that. That's just some of the technical things about what's happening with that day. You will want to arrange for childcare to extend after the service until the end of that meeting. So make sure you make the appropriate plans to work that out. Work with your campus pastor, campus director to make sure that that's all happening. So those are just some practical things that you want to do to make sure everything's scheduled. A lot of detail stuff. I apologize for all the details, but there are a lot of technical things that we got to make sure that we're on the same page with. The other thing that I want to talk about is January. January is a time that we as a church focus on prayer. I want to challenge each one of you with something. Number one is make sure that January is a time of personal prayer for you. You want to use this as an opportunity to slow down all of the activity and the schedules and everything that you have going on, the plates that you're spinning, and slow things down a little bit to concentrate on investing in your own spirit, investing in your own relationship with God, investing in your own prayer time, and really pursuing God during that time. This is a time that really sets up the remainder of the year. We intentionally take January to be a time of prayer and fasting, so that we can start our year right and get our year going in the right direction. So I want to challenge you personally: develop some prayer goals, develop some fasting goals, some Bible reading plans, some devotion things that you want to do throughout that month and also throughout the entire year. But begin this year off right. You are setting the tone for your entire team. So what I'm going to do is next week I'm going to communicate all of my plans, my intentions as far as what am I going to do as far as fasting and how am I going to spend that month of prayer. And I'm going to communicate that to each one of you. And I'd like that just to be a challenge to say, not so much to say, look at what I'm doing. It's really just a challenge to say, hey, this is where I'm going, and I'd love for you guys to follow me in some way. Doesn't mean you have to do the exact same thing as me, but I do think it is something that there's something powerful about stepping out and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. Follow me if you want. And I would challenge you to set your own goals, and then come around and talk to your leaders and say, hey, guess what? This is what I'm doing in the month of January. This is what I'm doing during that time of prayer and fasting, and challenge them to follow you. So I'm stepping out there and saying, hey, follow me as I take these steps with prayer and fasting and devotions. And I challenge you to do the same thing with your leaders, where you step out and say, hey, this is my plan, and I'd love for you to participate with me. There's something powerful about putting yourself out there, and it holds you accountable to things. And then at the same time, it challenges people to come with you. So keep that in mind. I'll share my goals with you next week. I'm still kind of crafting those. But make sure that January is a time of personal prayer and fasting and pursuit of God. And make sure you're bringing your team with you as you do that. That's one of the most impacting and powerful things that we can do as a children's ministry team. We've been focusing a lot on numerical growth. And are we having the attendance metrics that we're looking for? Are we adding new people? But at the same time, we have to couple that numerical growth along with spiritual growth. And January is a time to intentionally focus on spiritual growth and the investment in our spirit and in our relationship with God, for us personally, for our team members, for our leaders, and also for our kids. You also want to think about how can you challenge your kids to pursue God in an additional way in January? How can this be a spiritual emphasis month for all the kids in your ministry? The other thing that I want you to be aware of is in the month of February, we're launching a lot of small groups with our adult ministries that are focused on 40 days of breakthrough. They're going to spend 40 days focusing on this curriculum. And then at the very end, there is a breakthrough retreat where we encourage pretty much everyone in our church to participate with, everyone that's an adult. We'd like for as many people as possible. We can take hundreds of people through this. So I'd like to challenge you to get your leaders involved with this. Make sure if they've not gone through a breakthrough retreat yet, make sure this is a time that they can do that. This breakthrough retreat material is something that is life-changing. I've done it several times myself, and it is hugely impacting. I take a ton of the material and I try to pass it along in bits and pieces because there's so many people that need that material. But there's half dozen people that I really want to push to go through this breakthrough weekend. Find your leaders that haven't gone through this and encourage them to participate with us. This is the breakthrough curriculum small groups is in February. That's 40 days. And then in March is when we actually have the retreat. I would love to see all of our children's ministry leaders go through that breakthrough retreat if they have not gone through it already, because this is something that can truly help shape them as a leader in our ministry, and it's going to equip them to be better leaders to our kids. So keep that in mind. Don't forget the crazy schedule in December. January, make sure you're thinking about your prayer and fasting goals. And then in February and into March, let's get as many of our leaders as possible going through that breakthrough retreat. Again, no meeting tomorrow. See you guys all at the staff party, and I'll catch up with you later.